Thank you, Etler. Yeah, we're going to get started with our opening readers tonight. And we'll be linking everyone's poems in the chat. Our first opening reader is John Lapine. Take it away, John.
Hi everyone. First off, thank you to Open Mouth for having me as an opening reader. I attended 2018's Open Mouth. I think it was the first year, and it was a really cool, amazing, unique experience. And it's an organization that I just really love. They do a lot of good work, and I'm happy to support, and glad to know that they're supporting people still now. And thanks to Nen for having me. I just graduated with them they just graduated from Minnesota, and I got one year left. So I've had an incredible privilege to be their classmate for the last 2 years. And yeah, they're an amazing writer. They don't know this, but I'm going to teach one of their poems at the Loft in 2 weeks. And yeah, you're gonna have a great time with them. I have two poems. Actually, it's five poems, but one is a series of 4 haiku, and then a second poem. They're both about climate change. They're both about wildfires. I shortly after I attended Open Mouth in 2018, I moved to California, and 2 months after that, there was one of the largest, most devastating wildfires in California history, called the Camp Fire, and it really kind of tinted my experience of California for the rest of the 2.5 years that I lived there. And it's still affecting my art and the things that I think about, and I guess the way I kind of navigate the world. So it's something that kind of ties these two poems together. So the first I'll read is 4 haiku for a California on fire. 1. Red morning sky, ash falls like almond blossoms, white and hateful as hell. 2. Smoke pillars in bloom, inky flowers reaching for sunlight or heaven. 3. Grass Valley chokes on what was left to burn. Photos, Lysol, pets, rubber. 4. January rain, dirty, silent rivulets plan to meet the sea. And this next poem is called Campfire. And I wrote this in California before I knew I'd be living in Minneapolis, but I guess it's set in Minneapolis. It's called Campfire. And 2,000 miles away, a girl in Minneapolis counts snowflakes. Her father watches obliteration cables cascade from her open mouth. He reads her least favorite story about the frog who dies playing with matches. She imagines 3 inches of snow in her lungs. The ground statics, and she takes slower steps, moving now as if possessed. Ash sets in her bones like bleach, which is another way to say she stops feeling like a ghost and starts touching each doorknob with the back of her hand. She dreams in deer blood, the moon, a gamey slice of venison buried in mist. In 2 years, her sister will quit smoking and breathing the same day. And she will forget to exhale when her dad calls her a dead woman's name. Sirens will stop her marshmallow heart. They will inflate her like a fistful of lunar dust. She's trying to believe there's something left to give this world. She's trying to pretend this is real. Thank you.
It was fantastic, John. Thank you for that. I really loved how the turn to past tense happens in that third stanza in the haikus in the first set, and how both of them sort of move across the page, kind of how like smoke would move, or how I imagine like breath and smoke sort of are acting with each other. So thank you. Our next opening reader that we have is Willow James Clare.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here. I haven't read my poems much the last like few years, so I'm really grateful to be able to do so. And like among such amazing people, I've been reading all of my fellow opening readers and Nen's poems in advance, and they're all just amazing. So I'm really happy to count myself among you. Um, I have a little sonnet and then a prose poem. There's like some mild sexual themes in the first poem, and then like the prose poem deals pretty intimately with like mental illness and mention of suicide. So I just want to give that content warning. And then the first poem, it starts with the scientific name of an animal. I have a series of poems based on like butterflies and moths from where I grew up, and this one is the black swallowtail. They're found all around North America, but specifically I grew up in Arizona. Papilio polyzanes, or second attempt at metamorphosis. My tongue tolls in the bronze of my mouth. I want you to suck sound out of the soft of my inner thigh, my shell. Pain feels good. Should I admit myself in the night? I submit myself in the night. I grow a tail and swallow it before sunrise. Repetition legitimizes. I grow a tail and swallow it before sunrise. Bones thicken my throat. I tremble in pain, and it sounds like a song, my music a mimicry. Repetition legitimizes. I want you to change with me under covers which crinkle like leaves. Stare long enough at my razor burn, and skin reveals eyes. This is a defense mechanism to avoid contact. This is a defense mechanism. To avoid contact, I change. When I put my clothes on, I want you to take me. When I take my clothes off, I want you to give me back. They've been on hiatus for a while, but that poem was published in Per Happened, which is one of my favorite online magazines. And then this is an old poem that was originally a pantoum that I wrote like 7 years ago, and I pretty much just kept the first line and turned it into a prose poem because it did not want to be a pantoum. So new shit, but also old shit, but also new shit. Okay. Diagnosing depression or running around in the dark. On my worst days, I press a cactus flower to a Bible and ask, what is a petal to a page? Until I receive a response, I apologize to the desert. I stole the flower. My hands held scissors made of sand and cut language from real things that grow and hurt and die. This is a prayer about death, asking that childlike question, why? And what is a petal to a page if I never receive a response? I go to the graveyard and search for fox dens under invasive foxglove. My hands hold my friends, bloomed like shadowed asters, protecting their colors with spears. I go to the future and search for my name on foxglove-laden gravestones. What's a poem to my bones? I've looked everywhere for answers. Back of the cereal cabinet, stories of my grandmother, prayer. A man in a white coat says I may desire death for as long as I exist. I wish I could see into my own past, or at least ask these similar questions. I cry all the time for answers. How to cultivate care before I take me. How to not leave this sad earth worse. I wish I could see past my own sorrows, or at least ask with my mirrored eyes what happened, what was the whole point of that fuss about let there be light. When I remember I'm supposed to want to die, I don't want to. I'm stubborn like that. I love. Because I'm stubborn and I don't want to die, I love. Let them not say at my funeral that I waited, blooming, rusted, for someone to say, it's all right, tragedy comes or goes, that I waited for my cruel mind's entropy to smile its worm-toothed smile before I, what? Changed my name, told the truth, wore a pretty dress. It's a bad day. I press a fairy duster into a book of poems and think, if I promise countless strangers I won't take me, the stubbornness might keep me alive. Here is that promise. If you're reading this, I haven't killed myself. Like death or rebirth or a stupid girl who doesn't know when to shut up, let there be a desert willow growing as any body does. Don't pick it. It's alive. Let it smile upon the sun. It's alive.
Thank you for reading both of these poems. I just love how successful they are at the forms that they choose. Your sonnet was just the repetition was just absolutely beautiful. Fun. My favorite part was leaves and reveals. That was just like a fun. I was like, oh, it's like backwards. But the repetition, that was amazing. This last poem is just stunning. Keep thinking of lines over and over again, as folks have mentioned in the chat. The sound work is just absolutely gorgeous, and the way it takes up the page and just commands the images that it conjures is just phenomenal. Just so happy that you've introduced us to these poems, and yeah, just these are really lovely. Thank you for reading both of them. Just really beautiful. Our next opening reader is Nikki Amel. I saw is here.
I'm here. You want me to start?
Yes, you are good to go.
Fantastic. Oh, good. Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight. I just have two poems for you. The first one is called, What is that song we sing for the dead? Dreamsicle butterfly, Atlantic wind in your hair, the water misting your eyes. Is this real or fable? Remember, my sister has a daughter. The beauty that she brings, my meds roost in the old oak tree. Red string round bees, I love you, so many words. Ran out of D's, so the bracelet reads D-A-N-D-Y. Come, hug this drink with me. Today I filled the tub with Polaroids. Your last pack of parliaments overflowed till the smiles spilled. Which way does the wind blow? The thought that drags its teeth through my mind towards the salmon trap, silly. I don't know where to begin. Sometimes I feel very sad. I forgive you, Father. And the second poem I have for you tonight is called As I Physically Reenact the Last Scene of Shadow and Bone, Season 2, Episode 8. My girlfriend asks if I am feeling manic. Gently, like the brush of fingertips on the hips to lead in a desired direction. And all she wants is for us to be in step so we can waltz the safe distance from this moment. And all day long, I have wanted to feel things and not feel things. The moment on the metro passing Arlington Cemetery, the sun, a sudden razor causing a seam to stretch inside me. And I hear the threads clink, the ever-expanding universe collapsing like a slinky, and the woman to my right with the too tight curls switches her face with the man to my left, and the metro doors open with a ding, and I can't remember where I am going. This aliveness pressing against me like fingertips on the hips, leading me to a desired location, like Alina Starkov in Shadow and Bone, led on a rope by one person, then another, but also in a way liking the rope, liking the leading, the not feeling, the quiet existence under someone else's fingers. And it really is all too much to feel, to say. And so I step into the noose my girlfriend offers, and I tell her, no, I am not feeling manic today. Thank you.
That was fantastic, Nikki. Thank you for those. The like complete honesty in each of those poems. And just the like in the first one, the innocence in the childhood that gets sort of like pulled apart slowly. And then the second one, just like the voice in that one was so striking and fantastic. And your reading of it was amazing as well. So thank you. Our final opening reader this evening is Sophia Ordaz.
Hi everyone. Oh, it's so wonderful to hear from you all, John, Willow, Nikki. I feel so honored to like follow y'all up. And this first poem I'll read is my first Sestina ever. So I really like how it came out. I think it's done being tinkered with for now. I was reflecting a lot about taking care of my paternal grandmother, who went through an incredible amount of trauma. The poem does not get into that. I will say it's more focused on the love that we have been able to weave anyhow across 3 generations. And so, yeah, you'll see the repetition of 3 to coincide with the form itself of a Sestina being 3 into 6. And I'll go ahead and start. Sestina on waking up from a dream of decolonial love. Between the infomercials, the PSA says, try, let God rest. But maldita sea, I have tried. Diosito, I'm dying mid-try. Thanks, Socorro. The patrona twists the blade. Socorro teeters on the grimace of an internal curve. Just like that, the caged body covets the autonomy to succumb. Just like that, sweetly sings the promise of forever's kiss. Inside forever, fallen hides commune in our ancestors' kiss. Nations are born from tendons, sinews, and marrow in rest. Heartbeats, breaths, and blinks waltzing toward a succumb. Worshipping the original miracle, which was creating while forgetting to try. We are tucked in by the dulling of some grand intellectual blade, drifting on the red longitudinal waves of a sunset's curve. Youth find homes in the queering of lover friends. I curve, weightless and uncomplicated as a Samara seed kiss. Beso de Tres, underneath tomorrow's legislative blade, points to rituals of love before gender and all the rest. Where faith manda al carajo the compulsion to try, and where brown eyes mandan miel, commanding succumb. Yes, 16-year-old Javi hurt himself so he wouldn't succumb to shackles with his name on them. Crooked grinding on a dangerous curve, seeing as the curve embraced him when no one else knew to try. At the apex, he found the border of heaven and hell and gave it a kiss. Look right there, where the euphoric wink melts into a jackknife blade. Far away, his tired mother begged, please try, mijo, let God rest. It is a universal law that all conditioning collapses, and so Javi found rest. We're laughing and wailing 20 generations of separations to come. In his dream, their fiercely protected miracles whispered like a blade. A pupil and a navel and a baby's cheek are the same curve. We were and are always meeting across borders, blow a kiss. Catch the kisses, flying your way by their wings. Grit your teeth and try. The maize he eats holds a daughter, a mother, a grandmother's undying try. I cradle this triptych of mijas inside me for 2 quarter notes in a rest, and breathe them out where the golden arches and pale steeples kiss my paper world on its solstice swollen horizon. The rolling greens succumb to sticky Ozark amber. I know without trying that this is related to the river's curve, where, as a girl, abuelita plucked chapulinas from a sweet grass blade. We're bouncing rubber. All we do is try, vaulting between American dream's exacting blade and American dream's elusive kiss. The force catapulting us forbids us to breathe, to succumb, but I pray open-eyed, witnessing that dream void of rest, dissolving into our smiles curve. All right. Thank you all for the comments. The second poem I'll read is called Love Me Tender. And this poem is about just letting your heart break. And I feel like this was the first time my heart broke where I felt like I was cradling myself. And Roland Barthes also always talks about like how falling in love is an overflowing immense emotion where you become part of something bigger. I feel like I was becoming part of something bigger in this heartbreak. And when I wrote this, it felt like I was just channeling a voice. And this is the first time I wrote anything where it just fell out on the page in the way I wanted to maintain it. But yeah, it's called Love Me Tender. Rosy chicken breast, baby's peony yell, concrete stung knee scrapes, my vision when I'm near you. Soft, wet openings of the body never witnessed by another without the impending kiss, the full body flush of soreness. These tendernesses throb where they hurt, where they anticipate, where they recoil. Too soon, cry out, cut open watermelons, pried apart buds, trampled robins, bawling boys throwing half-hearted punches, unruly girls finding faint bloodstains, mouths gasping for air, between weepy kisses. Pink rarely appears in nature except as harbinger of transformation, birthing, blooming, bleeding. There's a fullness here. I used to fear caressing, holding close, cuddling. Now my sore heart spasms, then expands. Oh, affliction, prove to my numb mind, I'm still alive. Yes, yes. The most alive I've been in a good long while. Thank you all.
Oh, thank you for reading both of these. In Nen's workshop earlier today, they introduced us to their Sudoku Sestina form. So it's really, really wonderful to see another Sestina and one that's done so successfully. I mean, yeah, as I think John says, every line is a banger. Is 100% true. I think all the end words that you picked were just so amazing in the ways that they transform. Legislative blade, as people said, is just a really striking sort of turn and very accurate. I just love how tactile all your poems are here. Cry out, cut open watermelons, pried apart buds, trampled robins. It's just such a tender and beautiful poem. Also one that is very, very physically sort of grounded. So thank you for reading these. It's wonderful to hear them. We are going to move into our featured reader. I'm just getting that set up on the pins so we can see Nen. Awesome. And just going to read Nen's bio really quickly. So Nen G Ramirez is a non-binary Chicanics writer from Adrian, Michigan. They have a bachelor's in creative writing from the University of Michigan and an MFA in poetry from the University of Minnesota. They are also an editor at Visarama Magazine, a nonprofit literary journal for Michigan youth. Their work can be found in Split Lit Magazine, Electric Literature, Poetry Magazine, and elsewhere. Their chapbook, All Women Are Born Wailing, won the 2022 Acentos Book Prize and was published by Nomadic Press. Very excited to hear their poems tonight. Nen G Ramirez.
Thank you so much. Today's been incredible. I'm so honored to get to read with all of the poets that just read. I'm chills, butterflies, sweating. This was amazing. Thank you so much. Content warning for racialized violence, sexual violence, violence against women, and eating disorders. I'm going to be reading poems from my chapbook, All Women Are Born Wailing, and I'm going to start with reading the introduction just to give some context to like where a lot of these poems are coming from. In 1983, my 11-year-old cousin Laura was sexually assaulted and murdered walking home from a friend's house. She was buried in the cemetery down the street from my childhood home. She was so pretty that the words Miss America were written on her headstone. The women in my family told me and my primas the story about Laura's death like a bedtime story, a legend, a warning. A warning against being out alone, against being too visible or too public or too fast. Growing up was always spoken about like a curse in my family. Growing into a Latina body that would be hypersexualized, it was hard to see it as anything but. The curses for the women in my family were abundant. Anxiety, depression, and bipolar disorder runs in our family through genetics. PTSD runs in our family through shared experience. Sexual abuse, physical abuse, discrimination, and poverty. Still, when we are backed into our mind's darkest corners, we are not ill or in need of help. We are Latina. We are our mother's daughters. The internet will tell you it's true. There is an endless stream of content detailing how Latinas are violent, hysterical, melodramatic, fiery, spicy, how dating a Latina is a death sentence, how it takes a certain kind of man to tame a Latina. In this way, we are magnified and minimized, made hypervisible and invisible, made into two-dimensional, irrational creatures that shouldn't be taken seriously. We are reduced to bodies that must be controlled. I started the majority of these poems when I was an undergrad at an overwhelmingly white university. I was furiously unwell, in the throes of an untreated eating disorder and undiagnosed bipolar disorder, trying my hardest to suppress who I was and trying my hardest to pass as a quiet, unemotional, un-Mexican girl, and I was none of those things. I finished most of these poems after realizing the A at the end of Latina does not fit me. It was also after I got help, got medicated, learned to see myself as a person instead of a body, and found things to like about the person I was. It was after Laura's murder, which had gone unsolved for nearly 40 years, was reopened. In 2022, it was concluded that former Deputy Jim Harrison had abducted, sexually assaulted, and killed Laura. By the time of this discovery, Harrison had been dead for 25 years. My idea of what it looked like to be a good girl was long shattered by this point, but Harrison's identification as the murderer made it all that much clearer. Being a good girl was worth nothing in a world that did not see our bodies as capable of holding anything good. To be a good girl, one has to believe in the good guys, and the good guys, the deputies, wanted us dead. I'm tired of carrying all of the blame and the curses and the evil within me. I wrote this book to say that it is not ours to carry. Not mine, not Laura's, not the memory of Laura or the women tucking it into their stories. It never was. This book is a letting go. And then this first poem is called Miss America. It starts with an epigraph. Quote, "When these Southern whites see these pretty Mexican girls, they become excited. They are not used to girls so pretty." End quote. Eyewitness on the Zoot Suit riots. My mom was 16 when her boss's khakis fell to his knees, while he waited with a smile for her in the Domino's freezer, to see her scared, waiting to say, "Don't be." He had seen her thick Selena lips and J-Lo hips. He'd heard about girls like her. My sister was 15 when a rusted pickup followed her all the way home, driver whistling, dreaming out loud of fistfuls of her long, dark hair. My cousin was 11 when her body was found, naked and hollow in a ditch. The whole neighborhood sighed, said she was always too pretty. They engraved Miss America into her headstone. This next poem is called Piojosa. My abuelito says you aren't really Mexican American until you've had piojos. My mother says you aren't really Mexican American until you can't get rid of piojos. It's hard to forget the sound of a louse exoskeleton cracking between your thumbnails and gushing its blood/your blood over your palm. You aren't until you bake and melt the synthetic fibers of your favorite sweaters in the dryer, or sleep with a scalp smothered in mayonnaise or olive oil or vinegar, or until you can't tell if you are killing the pests or marinating them to perfection. You aren't really Mexican American until you've given up and love the beast that's sucking you dry. This next one is called I Tell My Abuela I Got My First Period. And she makes me té de canela, teaches me how to leach the bitterness from bark, then soften rust-red water with milk and sugar, turning it the soft, sad pink of overcast sunset. She hands me the steaming cup and says this ache means I get to have daughters who will get to ache too. I gulp it fast and burn my throat and imagine all the daughters inside me boiling away. My mother finds my first blood-stained panties and buys us a bottle of Strawberry Hill. Says she's waited so long for me to feel her hurt. Shows me how peroxide bubbles blood from clothes, how pillows smother the sharpest cries, how ice shrinks eyelids swollen shut. Says, baby, this is what it's all about. And from the fridge, takes out a cake with a cursive buttercream bienvenidas. She cuts me a slice and I throw the whole plate away. Love song for La Llorona. I have been you, Llorona. In the back of classrooms and sprawled out on the sidewalk, stringy black hair, Sharpie-colored fingernails, and chewed-up hoodie strings crystallized with spit. I am you, Llorona. All women are born wailing, you and I just never stopped. We were meant to curse everything we touched, to cry, where have all the children gone? I lost them too, Llorona. You won't need to steal me in the night. I'll gladly walk with you and call mis hijos, mis hijas, mis hermanas, mis primas, mis amigas. Sweet scabby-kneed girls now younger than me. God help us find all we let die. Before your cousin Laura was a threat, she was a girl. Before she was a poem, she was alive. The story always goes like this. A pretty brown girl exists too much and ends up dead. The good man was, the bad man was, the devil was the deputy. In most versions of the story, the girl is walking to a home she shouldn't have left. Before these words were mine, they were my mother's and her mother's and everyone's mother's. In every version, they are sorry. I hope that when you're older, you will understand enough to forgive me. I hope even more that you don't. This next one is called My Mother is 16 and My Abuela Wonders Why She Hasn't Had to Buy Tampons. When my mother says she can't keep it, I should say, sorry, content warning for miscarriages. Okay, so I'm gonna start over. My mother is 16 and my abuela wonders why she hasn't had to buy tampons. When my mother says she can't keep it, she is crazy. When my mother says she loves it, she is crazy. But when she wakes up, drenched in blood, she is quiet, stays in bed all day. My abuela whistles while doing laundry, returns my mother's sheets folded and bleached and says, God works in mysterious ways. I am 18 and my mother wonders why she hasn't had to buy tampons. My period left without a goodbye or a chance for me to say sorry. After years of starving myself prepubescent, what should I have expected besides my body's silent treatment? a maternal passive aggression, an icy withholding. As much as I want to kneel before an open fridge and soften myself with milk and sugar, I am too tired and heavy with this new ache. To who could have been mis Marias, mis Esperanzas, mis Doloritas, I'm sorry, but close the door behind you. Mommy just wants to rest today. I have nothing to spare, can't bring myself to need or be needed. This is my second to last poem. It's called Before They Were Found for V. I don't know how many more times I'll be able to handle the words she was found. V, we were both born afraid of ditches, the unseen evil hissing in weeds and muck. We'd bike down gravel roads to St. Agnes just to see her headstone. Laura Huizar, 1972 through 1983, Miss America. We'd pray for and to her. Dragged by our hair, our moms taught us about La Llorona, El Cocoy, and the ditch. And still, we both grew up thinking we could outrun our blood, outlive our weeping name. We fell in love easy. Snuck out of bedroom windows, rode in drunk boys' cars. He tossed you out with garbage, leaking life. The cops said we found her. Like you only existed once, they chanced upon your empty body beside the road, abandoned, mosquito-bitten, and collecting sweet dew. You were not brought to light. We've been the light the entire time. And then, yeah, sorry. This is gonna be my last poem, and it's called On After Party Puking. This time, there are no scratched throats or bloodied fingernails, just your muscles' rhythmic squeeze, knowing what to do, how to pour out all the ways I've tried to kill you, all that I've flooded you with after keeping you empty for so long. Thank you, body, for handling the dirty work, for letting me be a log bobbing in the waves of necessary motion, letting me doze off passenger side. Thank you for trying to be okay, even after all the times I've packed a bag, said I'm running away. You let me stand at the door, knowing I wouldn't, then let me crumble, cry. You said, just let it out, just rest. I don't think I'll ever understand your love for me. A rum-dum brain like a snot-bubbling toddler who throws books from the shelf, throws punches, screams, I hate you, and still, you put everything in its place. Bathe me, tuck me in, leave the door cracked, the hallway light on. And that's all I have. Thank you so much for everything. The workshop today. Thank you for being here. This was amazing. And thank you for all the kind words in the comments. I'm gonna mute myself.
Thank you so much for reading all of these. As everyone says in the chat, the endings to your poems are just absolutely fantastic. There's so much beauty and so much heartbreak and just so much that is continuing to come back to me as I try to formulate words to talk about it. So it's just looking back over them and just realizing all of the really gorgeous lines that you have here. Thank you for just sharing all of these. I wish I had a better way of talking about all of what I loved about these poems, but there's just so much to love in them. The way that you have such a strong and just consistent voice is just something I think is really difficult with collections sometimes, and that's just seems so natural to you. I don't know, it's just I'm very excited to read this. And with that, you can get Nen's collection, All Women Are Born Wailing, on SPD. We're going to link that in the chat. So follow them on Instagram and Twitter if you'd like to. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for joining us this evening. Thank you to all of our opening readers. And thank you to our interpreters, Gregorio and Vernice. Appreciate you helping to make the space accessible and continue to interpret for us. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you all so much for coming. Thank you, Nen, again, for sharing your wisdom with all of us in the workshop and then sharing your poems again now. Yeah, have a great rest of your evening, everybody. Thank you. Bye.